Hey there. I am, you know what, I'm not going to be just like a talking head. I'm going to move this down a little. So I'm doing this at the suggestion of my my assistant, Riley, who is working with me on YouTube stuff. And she said, you know, people are asking about your tarot and intuitive work and all that kind of fun stuff. So I thought what I would do is do what I normally do. When I used to have a club, what I would do is I would just bring in white light. So we'll do a very brief white light meditation, align with God, and make sure that we're just in a zone where what we're saying is the highest calling of what we need to share with each other. So from there, I'm just gonna have the cards with me, and what I like to do is just start sharing things that are coming forward. And I think Riley set up the parameters. They're somewhere. So if you found this, you probably found what it's about and how to work with it. And I actually have my Chakra Wisdom Tarot Basics that is launching like next week. So that's kind of coming along too. So it's good to see some of you jumping in. And I'm going to what I want to do is I want to begin with just aligning ourselves with just breathing. And when I say breathing, I don't mean like, you know, woo-woo breathing. I mean, just come into the space. And one of the things I think is very useful for aligning with God, aligning with ourselves. And I talk about this a lot, and I think I've talked about this more. The idea that in order to really be true to ourselves, we have to first make our primary relationship with God, higher power, what you choose to call it. And this is the way I read. This is the way I work, because I think that, and again, whatever you choose to call it, you know, there's so many people that, you know, will say, well, I don't have that kind of God. It's like, it's okay. The God of your understanding, I call God God. I refer to God as He. That's just how I do it. Change the pronouns if it suits you. Okay. So I'm going to ask everybody to just take a deep breath and just be present and notice and drop your shoulders. And I want you to notice just how you're feeling right in this moment, and just make a note of what's going on inside. And I'm going to invite everybody to take a moment and imagine up in the heavens, there's some white light. This is the God energy, right? This is the white light from the heavens. We're just going to bring this white light down. And as you bring it down, I want you to be aware of a connection, this connection with your higher self. That's actually seventh chakra area. And that connects with universal consciousness, the highest good, and beyond, in what I like to call asking for God's assistance and to guide me in what I have to say and do. And some of you may know or not know that I do this before I do any broadcast with you. So whether I'm talking about true crime, or I'm talking about, you know, even when I'm working with people one-on-one in a session, I do this before you even enter the session, because for me, I want you to enter into the room, and I want to enter the room, and I want God to go first, right? Because as I say a lot in terms of relationships, our commitment is to God, and then to ourselves, and then to our partner. So the idea of cheating is like this energy, and the idea of being with God is this energy. And so really it's a commitment you're making to yourself and your creator. So when I say that to you, I'm going to ask this light to come down, right? Just bring down that white light. Okay. And again, just drop your shoulders. And what I want you to do, we talk a lot about true crime on this channel. So I'm going to ask you to bring down the white light from the heavens. Imagine that it's just coming over you. And by the way, you can do this with your eyes open. You can do it with your eyes closed. Aligning with God has nothing to do with whether you're oming on a hill or you're being present in the moment. And sometimes the most we can do is be present, right? So just be present with yourself, with spirit, and with this white light. And as you breathe in this white light, I want you to imagine now you exhale anything you don't need into this white light, anything that's not necessary in our conversation. And we just let this white light travel out. And I want you to notice how it just is touching everybody who is on the call right now, who will join the call in the future, everyone who's present in the consciousness of what we're talking about. Now, I want you to just be aware of your energy connecting to your higher calling, your highest possible energy. What's the best possible outcome in our conversation? And one of the things I do as well is I set an intention for a conversation, and I say, I want everything that I share to be as pure and as truthful as it comes through me. I want to be open to what other people have to say. And I want this for the highest good. We do this so that other people can get ways of thinking, right? Because sometimes I learn from you guys, which is so great. That's why I do it. Okay, so I want to mention, where do I have here? I have my cards. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and I want to mention a couple things about tarot that I think are very important. Tarot cards are just cards. They're pieces of paper with something printed on it. And this is just the Four of Swords. It's somebody who's just resting. He's been through a hard time. He's just resting and he doesn't know what to do. And interestingly, we're talking about, Brian Laundrie on this channel at this time. And one of the things I would say is that makes a lot of sense. And by the way, green is the fourth chakra. A lot of people think fourth chakra, oh, it's love. But actually, true love really needs a container. It actually is a discipline. It goes back to what I was saying with when we align with our higher calling, there is in that fourth chakra, the heart chakra, it's the planet Venus, but it's also about really kind of knowing that we need some kind of structure, a plan. And when I say that, I think some of you have heard me say about I can say, oh, I want to build a pool and I'm going to get a hose and I fill my backyard with water and I'm making a pool. Not really, because there's no container, right? It just goes everywhere. Yet if I actually build and dig and create structure and create what needs to be there, now when I put a hose there, it will have a container for it. Same thing with money, same thing with love. It's setting up the container for it. So if you don't pay attention to the container, it's like there's nothing to hold it. There's nothing to keep it in your sphere. So that said, it's interesting. I pulled that card and, when I think of the Four of Swords, anything when you look at the way the tarot's set up, it's not set up for evil. It's not set up to hurt you. It's not. The thing is that you have to remember anything in the wrong hands can be evil. I mean, think about it, when I think of Jonestown, a Bible can be evil if it's in the wrong hands. So when we look at this, we want to look at the highest calling of this, and that Four of Swords. The swords in general are challenging times. They're difficult times. So when we look at something that would be fourth chakra, we're looking at something that, what do we need in our lives as a container? What are we not setting up in other words, what in our plan currently isn't quite working for us, if that makes sense? In other words, and of course, when we've been talking recently about the laundry case, one of the things that's very interesting about that is that what in the plan isn't working? Well, I don't think any of it's working yet, if you think about it. So one of the things I want to be clear with everybody on today, this is just a very special call. This is just really about, I'm going to be talking about tarot. I'm going to be sharing some ideas and thoughts. And so if you are like, oh, I don't want that, grab one of my other calls. It'll always say tarot on it, so you know what it is. So there we go. So a couple things. Oh, Claire. My goodness, my girl Claire. Carrie. Just want to say hi to a couple people. Hey, Dave. Good to see you. Dawn, of course. Roddy J. So I'm just kind of saying hi to a couple people. Brittany. Oh, God, I love you. Sharon. It's so funny how you can do this kind of work and you kind of realize that when you share something so powerful, and I want to tell you this because I have a lot of friends who are in the woo business, right? And because we do this kind of work, like I remember mentioning to some friends of mine, I said, well, I have this secret. They go, what's your secret? I go, I just love true crime stuff. And they're like, so do we. And I think part of what we're talking about is that all of us are looking for some kind of answer in our lives. And if you really think about it, we're always looking for something that is going to feel good, right? So why do we follow something like true crime? Why do we follow something like football, basketball, any team sport, really? Because in that team sport, you're going to have 90 minutes, and at the end, you have a solution. So that's the nice thing, is you get a conclusion to it. Even if our lives are disrupted, we can follow something else. And I want to really acknowledge a lot of people on the internet. I know there are people who don't like it, but I'm going to tell you something. If you are, if you're doing, you're following this and you're interested, and sometimes we go too deep, you know what I mean? Sometimes we go like to the minutia of like, and I think there was a blade of grass nearby, like that's not, that's crime scene stuff. But what we're really talking about are things that will lead us to a solution. And what is it we're really looking for? I think that one of the things that in life, people who are able to maintain long-term relationships or be with other people recognize that sometimes they're just things that will never get solved. There are questions that never get answered. And so we just stay in that space of, okay, I'm with this person and I know that, they're never going to want to do X, whatever that is that you might like. The reason I'm saying all this and all of this is coming through me, and I want to just say this because the thing that I'm vibing on right now is that, when I do talks, and you'll see this is an insider thing, you'll see that as I'm doing talks, sometimes I'll just go into almost a state. And at that point, I'm just kind of getting hits. I'm getting energy about things. And so I'm sharing with you what a sense is coming to me. And I know that some people regarding Brian Laundrie as well, they're saying he's dead, he's this. I don't know that he's dead, but I know that he's dead, if that makes sense. In other words, he may be breathing, but I know that there's something horribly wrong with him. And we also know, and I started to talk about this last night a little in one of the calls, and I didn't want to get into it. I was talking about the parents, right? Let me see. I think that it's very interesting because I just pulled Ace of Cups, right? And I just want to share with you what this chakra is and what an ace is. Ace is, you think of it, ace in the hole, right? It's a sure thing. It's something that, when we look at the cups, it's also about emotion, about love. And what it tells you, and what I'm feeling from this, is reaching for the best you can be. And I think there's a very definite thing here with the first chakra that is, I like to call it, it's our DNA. If you think about the first chakra, it's kind of like, think of the first chakra as the sun, right? The sun. It's who we are. It's the first chakra. It's also, it's that starting point where our own platform. And by the way, we all have a platform. We all have an energetic platform. And so if we're on that first chakra platform, I want you to notice that's the earth for you. And what's under it are our roots. And our roots are like DNA. So if you think about, and I talk about this more in a lot of the spiritual stuff I talk about, but the roots of a tree, they go deep, right? Now our roots go deep too, but there's a point where it's like, I hit a rock, my root's just going to stand there. And so I wonder for you, if we take that root and we let that root go as far and wide as it can and as deep as it can and go where it wants to go, it might actually stretch into some beautiful spring water energetically and drink up better water for the tree. So what we're looking at is, when we're looking at DNA, it's we come in with what we know, right? So if scientists can look at your DNA, why can't cells hold cellular memory? So when I look at something like the first chakra is telling all about what your platform is at the current time, right? And what's very interesting is that, and the other thing I like to say, this is something interesting because this makes no sense to me right now. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just going to be like, what? This card, and as I'm reading too, when I'm reading cards and I'm talking to people about readings, one of the things that I do is, if I look at something and it's not making sense yet, there's two things that I do. Number one is, you always say what opposes exposes. I want you to think about that for a minute. That's going to help you also in communications with others. So when I'm looking at true crime, or I'm looking at something that's going on in the world, I might say Ace of Cups. That's a fantastic, like, God is giving us a cup of, riches, really. It's your spiritual, your emotional, your all of your needs will come from God. It is just this beautiful card. Why on earth would I pick this for the laundry? I'm going to call them Landry. I don't know why. Laundry parents. Now, because you see a reversed card, when we look at reversed, it's kind of like people call it a stuck energy, right? But one of the things I want to tell you about is that what if the opposite of reaching for God is forgetting that you're not doing the highest calling. So if you look at this, if someone's saying, this angel is like, she's reaching for the cup from God. She's reaching for it, but you can see she's not quite touching it. And we have a choice at any given moment to receive this gift or to not receive it. What that tells me is that I'm starting to feel into it more, that if we look at that as the laundries, it's like they're not reaching for the highest calling. And then we have to go one step further and say, well, what would they be reaching for, right? And I mean, this is kind of a little bit, now as we're talking, doesn't seem like surface to you? Like, yeah, well, we kind of know that. They're not doing the highest calling. But you see, in order to go deeper with any conversation, you have to start with the baseline of what's obvious to you, right? So if we look at the Ace of Cups, how many times have people said to them, do the right thing? Do the right thing. Let's let this man that you raised, let's let him face his maker. So they're preventing him from facing what needs to be faced. And the thing is that what do people really want from this? We want to know what the heck happened. And why do we want to know? Why do we want to know what Brian did, right? Why would we want to know? Okay, giving peace to the family, that's what we say. But the reality is that we want to know so that we don't ever meet a Brian. Think about it. Or our kids or our friends, they don't have to meet another Brian. So if you think about it, if we know what Brian looks like energetically, I'm talking energetically now, if we can recognize them, and something I'm getting truth bombs. Something I want to share with you about that. This is super important. I want you to notice the eyes of, and they're different, the eyes of a serial killer versus the eyes of someone who is ill. Now I want you to, and I'm going to do this in another call, but not now because it's take too long for me. But one of the things I want you to do, when you take Ted Bundy's eyes and you look at them next to Brian Laundrie, then you take them and look at them next to like somebody like a Chris Watts. You start to put all the family annihilator, the look in their eyes, all of the people who are so controlling, the men. And if you think about it, when I look at this, it's really about being out of control. And I think that what the Laundrie parents wanted for their son was for them to take the best. And let's think about it. All parents want that, right? But I don't think he ever had that chance. And I think that's true. Oh, Kung Fu, you're so right on. Let's see. I live beside a monster. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at some of these. I'm glad you're here, Elizabeth. So a couple things I want to say about what tarot does and what it doesn't do. First of all, it is not going to be a definitive answer, because what it's supposed to do is this energy is meant to almost be a meditative energy where you look at an image and you connect. Because when you know it, it's so funny because I'm teaching about how a tarot deck is like a it's a new course it's a course that I'm doing, and it's about I'm launching it hasn't launched yet, but it's hold on, it's like a blueprint for a house. So if you think about it, you know how people are always like, I've got to memorize the meaning, but if you look at it like a blueprint of a house, then when you're sitting there and the lights go out and you go, what the heck is the freaking fuse box? I don't know about you, but I've had that happen. That's what a tarot deck, if you have that blueprint, because every single deck has a pattern and a blueprint that when you look at that, you can understand that you're aligning with that from, and I want to be very clear, from the God energy, from that higher energy of yourself, because we don't ever want to be giving advice, and because that makes us part of the problem. Now, if you notice, I'm not saying she should have done this. It's very important that we kind of be that person that can say to someone, what does that mean to you? Like, and I don't mean it like a therapy. It's not that. What I'm looking for when I'm working with cards or I'm working with someone one-on-one like this is I'm looking at, okay, what does it mean to you? Because then I know how you define things. So that's why sometimes when I look at an interview, right? I can look at an interview with a criminal, and as I start to see how they are, that's going to cue me into how they see the world. And based on what we were looking at, if you go back to Brian Laundrie, I want to say Laundrie for a minute. Oh, I love Halloween. It's the only time of year I can be myself. If we look at Brian Laundrie and the idea of the way he was with Gabby, if you notice every single video, he was like kind of like in it with her, you know, and he was definitely trying to move forward in the frame. He was like trying to get equal to her. And if you're looking at someone's energetic behavior like that, that's not the highest calling. That's not being of service to that person's work. Think about this for a minute. Can you really look at the videos? Now, I'm going to ask you to step back from this, right? I'm going to look at this in a minute, Mary. Hold on. I'm going to look at the chat in just a minute, everybody. But if you look at this as, let's observe for a moment energetically, we're going to observe Brian Laundrie in the videos. Did you see any video where he turned around and said, she's amazing? Did you see any videos where he talked her up and said, oh my gosh, you guys have to watch her channel. She's doing great stuff. No. And in fact, when you looked on his, oh my God, his Instagram, it looks like someone who is mad. You know, when I say mad, like there's a crazy in the head, right? Because there is something that's not working right. But the thing I want to say, I'm not going to throw the cops under a bus here, and I'll tell you why. Because seeing those dead eyes, or seeing eyes that are looking, they're pretending to be alert, these guys are very good at that. Because you see, when there's nothing underneath, the people who are pretending to be normal, if you will, when I say normal, like people that won't kill people. All right, that's kind of like, I know it's a low bar, but still, you know, people that don't kill other people. When you look at people that don't know there's a line there between themselves and killing other people or taking other people's lives, when you look at that bar and they don't understand that that's there, they have become extremely good at watching people and copying how they behave. So if you look at Brian Laundrie and you look at the movie Fight Club, right? And you look at what was the character he picked in that, I showed something. He picked Brad Pitt. And isn't Brad Pitt the imaginary person? So when we talk about that, it's like, even how he was trying to be, isn't he trying to be somebody that is cool, is, oh yeah, I'm just like a hippie guy. So if you think about it that way, you're looking at it as, oh, now, the other thing you can do energetically when you're looking at a card or you're looking at something like this is, you know, when I feel into the energy of someone who is like a Bundy, there's those eyes, they're wild. They're absolutely wild. And his eyes are possessive. And you can also look at someone like a Charles Manson, right? And you can see the possessive wildness. So if we look at, like, if we took our crazy serial killers that we like, you know, those people are in a certain, what I'm trying to say, they have a certain energy that's very different from the family annihilator type and from the and by the way, when we look at Brian Laundrie, I have to say this because I don't think the Family Annihilator is really that same person anymore. I think they look very different. They're much more selfish. So I'm just going to check in with y'all and see how y'all are doing real quick. I just want to see who's here. I know I've got these glasses. Let me see. Oh, Laura. Let me just see. Yes, Michelle. She's good to see you. Yes. Caught in the YouTube Riptide, which I absolutely love, said some of the things he said seemed to be saying things against Gabby, like the Apple Watch she had. I think that's a very good point. When you look at how a partner is treating the other partner, you get a lot of insight into which person could possibly be the more dangerous one. And then if you look at something like Chris Watts, it's flipped. So it's very interesting what you start to see there. Yes, Kung Fu Panda, I love you. Kung Fu Panda said he's tailoring off her energy and creativity, competing with her. Yeah, I know. Dawn's funny. I haven't even looked up that dude much. It's icky. Pat Brown said she couldn't profile somebody based on their beady eyes. Well, no, and I think that's true. I think that you can't profile based on the eyes. But one of the things you can do energetically, especially when you're in an intuitive state, what I want to explain is that as long as I'm aligned with God, he's pulling me out. I'm not going into anything, negative. Because here's the thing. It's about the highest calling. So I can sit with somebody, and if I look at their eyes, if I look at like Bundy's eyes, I can tell you things about them because it's kind of an energy I'm hearing from the heavens. It's not really about reading the profiling, for example. Profiling is very different, but it has some feelings of intuition with it, but it's based on probability and outcome. It's a very different kind of thing. So let's see. So let me take a peek here. I think that, yeah, here we go. Yes, that's it, Riptide. That's it. Who could forget Charles Manson's insane eyes? And if you now think of it for a minute, look at Bundy in his laughter, right? When he was caught and he was going, I didn't do that. And his like eyes are just like so. And I remember once, and it was a long time ago, I remember once reading an article about a woman who went for, what did she do? She went on a date with Bundy and he was dropping her off and it was fine. And he said, hey, do you want to go for a walk down at the lake? And something in her said, you know what, it's late. How about we do that another time? And she lived. So I'm saying this because one of the most powerful things we can do when we trust, not, and I teach this a lot, but I'm going to share with you guys. I don't think we ever trust our intuition. I think we listen to it and follow it if we know it's right. Now, I say this because if you think about it, our own intuition sometimes is like, it's turned off when like there's this cute person, So we have to really, really follow that, that intuitive part. Nikki, what's going on? So Nikki, do you have your deck? She's like really, she's a good reader. Okay, Nikki, can you, I don't know if you can, but I'm going to just show you, like the Chakra Wisdom Tarot has a lot of colors. So what I'm going to ask everybody to do, let's see if there's a message from the Chakra Wisdom Tarot for all of you today. And I want to start with, what I'm going to do is I am going to ask you to look at just energetically in your breathe and in your mind's eye. I want you to see the numbers 1 through 7. Nothing is right, nothing's wrong, just 1 to 7. And from that number 1 to 7, I'm going to ask you to just go ahead and put in chat the number that comes forward to you. Now, what's important in this, pick either the numbers 1 to 7. The number that comes up the most is the chakra that I will pick from, because I can only see the colors on this side. I can only go, okay, there's red, there's yellow. It's going to be the color I'll pick from, and that is going to be the message. Now, the second number let's say, for instance, more people put 1 or more people put 5, whatever. One that's second place, I'll give you information from that chakra. So go ahead and just, oh gosh, you got to find it, Elizabeth. Okay, so but we can do this without the deck. That's why I'm doing this right now. So I'm going to ask everybody to just once again center yourselves in yourselves. Ask for Spirit's assistance. Bring down the white light from God. We take a deep breath. We just let it go, and we ask for Spirit to put in our mind just a number 1 to 7, and go ahead and put it there. And if I see, I'm going to give you just a second to pull. Okay, we've got a 4. Okay. How am I supposed to count these? Hold on. 6, 2, 3. Okay. Whew. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Let's see. That's fine, Elizabeth. You don't have to. This is really just a message. This is just really about the chakra message. I'm picking up. Okay, what seems to be coming up, what's really showing up the most, and that I'm seeing, and I could be wrong on the numbers, but looks like 5 and 4. Gosh, you guys, I don't know. Okay. There is no 8, LB. I can't pick an 8. Okay. I am putting Yuri in timeout because it looks like that might be a spam bomber. And let's see if you got that. Great. Thank you. 4 is the most. Riptide says. Let me think. I think 5 looks to be the second. Anybody's thought on that? What do you mean? Okay, 4 is the most. Is 5 the most for the second one? 4 is the most. What's the second one? Anybody got this? Because I can't count anymore. Okay. All right. Okay, caught in the YouTube Riptide says 4 is the most. So I'm going to go with 4, which is actually the 4th chakra. And I'm going to show you just a couple levels of this right now. And I think 5 is secondary. So I'm not sure, but I'm going to go with that. So what happens is I am going to just kind of pull out those 11 cards that are, as we're talking, that are going to be the green 4th chakra cards. And one of the things that this deck is that it is very much aligned with everything about you. So when we look at, if you know if you know astrology, for example, anybody's good at astrology, you can look at that. I think 5 is second. Yeah, I think so too, Michelle. Thank you. Michelle. Michelle. Okay, I like that. Okay, 4 and 5. That makes sense to me because, so overall, let's look at this as 4th chakra, 5th chakra. Now, the chakras kind of go in their natural order, and there's always a bridge between them. So it isn't just 4 or 5. It's kind of like there's a segue in the middle. And believe me, we spend a lot of our time on the bridge. Okay, so here's where we are. Those of you that, and I'll go over the others too in a moment, but the basic message for all of you with the 4th and then the secondary 5th chakra, it tells me that most of you are really, and I think this is true for most of us, looking for that container. And when I say container, if you think about Venus, the planet Venus, which is the 4th planet in the chart, 4th chakra, it is represented here by those green cards. And what's coming forward to me is the Fool's Journey. Some of you know the Fool's Journey. The Fool's Journey is basically, it shows the journey of our life. You know, we're born, we have mentors. The thing that's different here is that in the Fool's Journey, the Fool herself is in every card. And that's not like other decks. I did that on purpose because I felt that the Fool was really about, she goes out and risks. So she's meeting in the first card of the majors here, major arcana, which I could talk about another time. is she's meeting the Empress. And the Empress is really about grounding, about love, about fertility. She really, and think about this for a minute, that's Venus as well, right? It's very interesting because as we, and thank you for that, Elizabeth, and that was really the goal of this, is that the Fool, if you think about it, we have different incarnations. So when I say incarnations within the same body, it's like, I'm not the same person I was 7 years ago or 5 years ago, right? We're always evolving. But a lot of times people still have the goals at 50 that they had when they were 30. And you see that has to change because we've changed. So if we think about the first round of the Fool's journey, the first 7, she's meeting her mentors. Then in the next 7, she actually takes what she's learned out to the world. And in the final 7, that's where all the hell breaks loose in the tarot, because that means we get these higher, bigger problems, if you will, because we have more skills to face them. And so when things happen to us, right, if something is happening, you know, when people say, oh, there's always a reason, I don't jump to there's always a reason until I've processed the pain of it. So, you know, I have a deep compassion, for example, for people that are losing pets because I've been through it. But when I'm in it, I'm not always the best person to talk to, if that makes any sense. But okay, so here's what we're doing. Oh, Lori, great. Yes, is the Fool smart? Well, the Fool's you, so I certainly hope so. Because when we're looking at the Fool's journey, we're also looking at the evolution of who she is. So in this deck, you're going to find that the green cards, the green cards are in other tarot deck, it'll be the Page, but the green cards are the Princess here, the Princess. And why is that? Because in the regular tarot deck, the Page are the messengers, but the Princess is not only a messenger, she is very wise and underutilized. Think about it. The Princess is just, you know, and if we think of like, I think the best thing I can say to you about the Princess is that if you look at someone like Princess Diana, you can look at someone who was probably one of the most, like not at all the image of a princess sitting on a throne, but she was someone that really, if you look at this, fought for what she believed in, and look at the sword, she went through hell for it. So when we talk about people like that, when we talk about what's going on right now for you, if you're in this energy right now, what happens is that because most people picked 4, it means that no matter what other chakra you picked, we're looking at how it relates to the 4th chakra. We're going to look at how it relates to Venus right now. And any of my astrologers on here, you can look at where your Venus is in your chart, and you can look at, oh, and think about this. You know, a lot of times people think Venus is love, but it's also what you really like. What do you want? What do you want to create? What do you want? You know, I can't tell you how many times I've done a reading for people lately, and I'll be like on with them, and I'm going, yeah, I'm seeing this. And they're like, yeah, I know, but I don't know what I want. This chakra is about being in that place of like, you have what you need to do it, but you need to know what you really like. And we've spent so much time, if you think about it, in the last 5 years against this energy. I don't like this. I don't like this, rather than, well, what do you like, right? We haven't really been asked that question because things have gone very catawampus. And so I think what we're talking about here is that when we look at the 4th chakra, it's about, do you know what you really want? Now, here's the thing. I kind of know I want to move, you know, I want a new adventure, but I'm not sure where yet. So, you know, I'll be looking in Wilmington, North Carolina at the shore, and then I want to look in Tulsa. So that's different, right? But I'm checking out different places because I don't know what I want yet. And so part of this 4th chakra is experiencing, you know, what it is you are desiring at this time. So when we look at this and we look at any of these green cards, one of the things, there's a couple different ways to play with cards and so many different ways. And by the way, there's no right way to shuffle a deck, to be with a deck, anything like that. It's just, it's what comes naturally to you. I don't do a lot of, oh, that card dropped out of the deck stuff, just because I don't. That doesn't mean that it isn't valid. I would rather not look at like, ooh, I'd rather look at, I'd rather find a kind of a click with it. And I'm just going to pull a card here, of course. And I pulled the Star. And what's very interesting about the Star is that she is at this point, and I want to be very clear about this. So let me just make sure I want to pull this, by the way, is a major arcana card, and this is the Fool. All right. So I want to let you know that the Fool has started from that red card and moved right into, this is going to be the second green major, and here's the final. Okay. So the second green major card is this one, which is she's now learning all of the skills that she has. And I want to be very clear. If you're in a place right now where you are trying to, just elicit from, your imagination, right? Let's call it imagination. That the highest good for you, where can I be the most of service? Where can I enjoy my life the most? Where can I give to others the most? Then we're looking at that second thing of trying all these techniques out, right? Because she's trying all of the things she knows. Now, the next green is going to be 8 cards later, which is, remember I said the second set of the Fool's Journey is all about her trying things out. But in the green, we're trying things out that we actually are already familiar with. So this is a good moment for you to go inside and just, if you have a piece of paper and a pen, just write down for yourself, what is it? What area of my life am I really not looking at? Am I not looking at emotions, love? Am I not looking at the passion I need to pursue a career? Am I, let's see, the cup. Are my emotions aligned? And the coin. In a lot of tarot decks, it's called the Pentacle, but I didn't like that because it had and some decks I'm fine with it. It's just for this deck, it felt coin was right because it's more about material things. Are you worried, thinking, is there one of these 4 areas that you may need to go back and look at again? Because one of the things that happens, especially with the 4th chakra, is that we've wanted love, let's say, for so long, and we focused on it for so long, other things have suffered, or we focused on making money for so long that other things have suffered. What are these areas do you want to look at? And when we look at the sword is very necessary. We kind of consider it story times or what have you, but it's also putting your foot down. It's also saying, I'm not going for that walk with Ted Bundy. It's a decisiveness. It's a definiteness. So this is very, very important. And I think, Kung Fu, I'm glad you said that because it is the lessons learned. And in this deck, it's also, because everybody is, the secondary is the 5th chakra. I'm kind of jumping ahead. We know that the 5th chakra is the throat chakra. It's the communication color, right? Blue. However, I often call it in the chakra the manifesting chakra because it's what we put out to the world that we want to create. So this question becomes in this card, it says, hey, guys, are you looking at you want to manifest something, but you may be missing a piece? So for example, when I was giving the example just now of my looking, where do I want to go? That would be much more of a coin thing because coin, if you will, or pentacle, that's earthly matters, right? That's land. So, if somebody comes into me and says, I'm really wanting love, then I'm going to look at this as, okay. So then when we look at the cup in this card, you can almost see how the cup is spilling a little. So it's kind of like, is it spilling out to bless you or is it spilling out because you're not paying attention to it? So this would be something I would then say, okay, so you're learning to work with one of these, right? So then when you look at that 3rd deacon, right? Because in astrology, just so y'all know, there are 3 deacons in astrology, and a lot of people kind of what? But basically, there's 30 days to a sign, right? So you've got your first 10 days, second 10, third 10. Now, I'm telling you this for a reason. Depending upon which deacon you fall in, if your birthday is 1 to 10, first, second, third, you're going to almost have a shade of another sign. This gets into a very involved thing. But what I want to say to you is that think of this as 3 deacons of your personal internal evolution. So that first deacon in here, right? And it's interesting because we looked at the Empress. So if we look at this, really, the Empress is, if that first decan is all about the love, emotions, she's handing the Fool, who's learning, she's handing the Fool the cup. She's teaching her about emotions. And so the thing is that when you are looking at what you're spinning in your life, what's emotionally coming up for you? Because you have everything you need swirling around you. What do you need to pull down and work with? And I think that's kind of the key of that. Hey, Annie. Okay, so all right. So now we look at, remember I said the third time, that third decan, if you will, in the Chakra Wisdom Tarot cards, the Star. Now, you might say, well, wait a minute, that's not a bad card, but think about the card that maybe went right before it. It is, I'm pretty sure it's the Tower. I have to find my little book. Like this, because I want to show you and that's a whole nother conversation. I go really into this in more detail about like in the basics course I'm going to be offering. It's not up yet, but in that course I talk more about what comes before and what comes after, because that's very important. The chakra is a story. Thank you. I thought it was Tower. Now I want to remind you what happens in the Tower. Ba-boom! Ba-boom! Now, why does everything go ba-boom? Because what happened right before the Tower. Now, I want to remind you that the Tower, third chakra, is choice of direction. You've made a choice, and it may not be the best, right? And here's the thing. I've had lots of towers. Why? What precedes the Tower? And I know Kung Fu's going to know this, but I'm going to also tell you the Devil. And people go, the Devil. And here's the thing I want to say about the Devil. The Devil card is about making a choice that is just bad. All right. You know it's bad. You do it anyway. Okay. And here's the thing. You may not really recognize in the moment how evil or bad it is. And we can look at a criminal for that and go, oh my gosh, how many times have they come back and gone, I didn't know what I was doing. But I'm just trying to find it in here so you can get what I'm saying. So the idea is that when we looked at the first card in this section, in the red, really, you notice that you have, that card that's kind of like, oh, lovely. And then the next thing we know is making a really bad choice. And I can talk about this more later, but I want to really get to what the reading that I'm bringing up for you is. And I don't know, my cards just like walk away sometimes. I've got decks open everywhere. Okay, so basically, when I'm showing you the book here, and this is the book that comes with the deck. Okay, so if you look at it, there is the Tower. You can see she's fallen out. She's like in big trouble. But when we look at, and let's look at the Devil for a minute, all right? Look at how the Devil is actually the Fool's shadow, right? What did we talk about? Like in the other call yesterday, I talked about the Martin Luther King quote where he said, there is a bit of bad. What is it? Yeah, a bit of bad in the best of us, and a bit of, I want to say darkness. I forget what the thing was, but he said it's evil, a bit of evil in the best of us, and there's a bit of good in the worst of us. And so what we look at when we're looking at the Devil is really your shadow. And so sometimes, and by the way, the Devil isn't always bad, because sometimes you have to make a bad decision to get to the good result. I've had that happen where, it could be as simple as knowing that you have someone working with you that is just really negative and you can't have them working with you, but they're so good at what they do, but you have to let them go to raise the energy of your business. So when you look at it that way, you go, oh, so each thing along our journey is very necessary. But the thing about it is, now let's come back to the Star. What has just happened? So if we talk about the journey, remember I said, this is now the seventh, like if you look, the final seven, you look at, oh my gosh, you've got like the Tower was preceded by the Devil, which is thoughts that aren't very helpful. Okay, I did this and I know it's going to come to an end, and I'm either going to resist it or let it blow up, And when that happens, we do get a reprieve. because we have to look at, and the star card is one of the most misunderstood, I think, in the deck. Yes, major course corrections. You want to just go, oh my gosh, yes. So what we're looking at here is the idea of when you make those decisions and everything blows up, the thing I want to say to you is that that's where I like to, more what I like to work with people on is, okay, so you know you're going to sell that house, right? You know you've got to give that up and move. However, let's look at what you choose as the outcome, right? So now that's what you guys pulled today. You pulled that. We went from this fourth chakra of, what do I need? And here's the question that, to meditate on later is, where am I in my life and what do I need to look at in terms of what will really fulfill my heart? And if we look at the fourth chakra as the card of Venus, right? And we also have to look at it as, the question is, what do we like? Now we know the card right before it, right? Right before, I'm looking at this one right now, looking at the star, right before we had the tower, third chakra, Mercury. When Mercury's in retrograde, you will read any of the yellow cards, any of the third chakra cards as a retrograde. Now, retrograde might be like a review, or you get a do-over, which can be really good. So I don't think that any card is negative. I think it's just information. And when we look at it that way, it doesn't, oh, it's that card. No, it's like, hey, I got the devil card. What kind of thinking am I aligning myself with, and do I want to be in that thinking? Is it going to serve me? And it might. You might have to be like tough to get through war. I'm just, making that. I remember my father saying to me, some of you know he was in World War II. He used to say, Tori, when you're at war, your mind is very different than when you're sitting there talking about how you'd move chess pieces. Oh, yeah. So the idea was that you have to hate. You have to hate to survive. But you see, we're not in that anymore. So the question is, when we look at this and we look at star now, I would say when we go into that fifth chakra, everyone, and I want you to just breathe and drop your shoulders. Fifth chakra is Mars, the Mars energy. Now, for those of you that understand a little bit of astrology, it would be, the focus. Where are you putting your energy? Because you see, that fifth chakra is, what are we saying? Throat chakra, what are we communicating to everyone? So what you communicate to other people is going to support the prior card. In this case, what we're looking at today, and I would say the overall exercise, if you will, for you would be, and by the way, no matter which chakra card you picked, and I'll talk about that in a moment as I wrap up, oh my God, yes. Great. YouTube Riptide just says, let's see, The War of the Roses, you see, and that was that movie where they literally cut the house in half. So when we think of that kind of energy, did either one really get what they wanted? The thing is, sometimes you have to destroy everything to find who you are. And I think that in some ways is going to mirror what's going on in the country, in our country. I'm talking about America. But when we look at, people wanting to try and just destroy, they're going, oh, wait a minute. Some of the choices being made, they're going, maybe that wasn't the best choice. But the thing is, we have to be strong enough within ourselves to say, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I shouldn't have made that choice, So I say this because here's the deal. I want you to get very clear on just the one thing of like, what makes me happy? It doesn't have to be a permanent thing. What gives me joy, right? So just ask yourself, what gives me joy? And that answer would be, whatever makes you happy. Like for me, my joy is my dog, right? And my joy is baking. I get into baking and it's like sick. I get in there and it's like, I'm very organized. I'm disorganized with everything else. I love to bake and I love to redo homes. So there are things I like. So that's why I like to move, because I redid this place. It looks fantastic. And now I'm like, okay, next, So those are things that I like. And I love to write. I love to write books. So when I say those things, those are just things that make me happy when I'm doing them. Now, the question for you is, what's your happy? And it doesn't have to be something you have to change your life to do it. Just really get clear, get clear on what that looks like for you. Thank you for saying Aries, Mars, Dawn, because then if we look at Aries being Mars being the ruler of Aries, that's the gotta get it going. But here's the issue with that. Sometimes Mars and Aries is like, let's get it started. But Aries is not always the best on follow through. Sorry. But here's the thing. When you have your foundation, now we're going to talk about those of you who picked, and believe me, I'm going to wrap up in like 3 minutes. Your foundation is the red. So if you picked one, it's because you're really looking at your roots now. You recognize that whatever it is you want to create doesn't have like a bottom. It doesn't have solid roots. And that's a very good thing to be looking at. If you're interested in red chakra, that is what you're really looking at. And by the way, I have a book out, and I don't have it right here, but it's on Amazon. It's called The Chakras, Beginner Chakras, and that is a workbook of working through the chakras, and it's just a fabulous book. I have to tell you, I think it's great. So what we're looking at is that first chakra. If you pick the number 1, you're dealing with new roots and rethinking old thinking, like perhaps what you were taught or grew up with. Second chakra is going to be your emotions, and your emotions are based on what you are drawing in, right? So what your roots are, you're going to be thinking what comes prior is like, oh gosh, this means this when he doesn't call or she doesn't call. Oh, and then your emotions will go crazy. So the thing is, are your emotions supporting you, or are they running you? And I talk about the difference between mature and immature emotions in terms of using them to get to the next level. So if you're dealing with emotions, it's like you may be confused and not knowing what you want right now. And that's okay. Because if you're confused, stay there. Stay there till you're not there. Why make it, oh, I got to get out of this? No. The struggle doesn't work when it comes to sometimes you've got to relax to get out of some kind of binding, right? So what I'm saying is second chakra emotions, recognize that we're talking about what we like. And you might be, I don't know. It's okay. Take it simple. Just notice it. Just walk around and go, I love breakfast. Like whatever you like, right? So get clear on what emotionally you like. Third chakra, if you pick 3, you're looking at trying to make a plan, trying to figure something out so that I feel like I'm doing the right thing. The thing about the third chakra is what you want to do is it's a litmus test. You want to test it against, is your fourth chakra, is it really something you want in your heart? So when we go from 3 to 4, we go, okay, wait a minute. Do I really want this in my heart? Is this really calling to me? So when you have that 3, you're kind of going, well, I want to start a business and do this, but then is it really what you like to do? Because I want to be clear with you. I have worked with many clients who go, oh, no, I don't like to do that. So that's very important because you could get midway in and you go, oh my gosh, I can tell you how many people have said to me, I'm going to do what I like after I get my real estate license. And I'm like, okay, 5 years later, they're still trying to get a license or trying to sell homes. The point is you can really succeed and excel at what's your fourth chakra true calling. So find out what you like, and elements of what you like and how you do it should be in that little container. Then that is fourth chakra. Fifth chakra, we start talking about things. Blah, blah, blah. We tell everybody what's going on fifth chakra. We tell everybody about our dreams. So everything we say, like I was working with somebody, I was just trying to help a friend out. And it's so interesting. You really can't help friends out. You kind of have to, but I was saying to her, because I was trying to help her increase her money. And I gave her the stuff, she did it, and she's like, oh my gosh. So she got a big job. And then what happens is I said, okay, so let's look at this. And she said, no, I'm good now. Well, any minute now, she's going to go back to her old way, because you have to work with you have to continually build. So when you look at what you want to plan for in that third chakra, is it sustained by your fourth? And remember, everything above the fourth chakra is your spirituality. Now, I can go into this in another call. And I think I'd like to do this kind of weekly. Let me know what you think of doing something like this weekly. Like, give me a number 1 if you'd like. Yeah, let's do this weekly so that I can build and give you some more information on what's going on with you and different games and stuff like that. I am a Sagittarian. And so what we want to look at here at that fourth chakra, give me a 1 if you want to do this again, if you want to get more of these calls. I like to keep it to an hour, so I don't have much time here. But now we're in the fifth chakra. The fifth chakra is the message you are sending out to the universe. And I want to tell you, I have never, ever seen anybody fail when they send out a very succinct message to God, to the universe, and I always say, people say this in the spiritual realm, this or something better, this or something better for all those involved. I add to it, I say, God, put me in the place of creating X if it is where I am going to be serving at the highest level of my intention. So, for me, I came to writing books because I recognized that was a way for me to express what I was doing and be aligned with God and not have, I didn't know how that was going to come about, but it did. And so I just want to share that with you. So we look at satirizing. Oh boy. The thing about that is that that's that fifth chakra of putting it out to the universe. Now, we're not going to go into 6 and 7 today, but I know there's a few of you who said 6 and 7, so I'm going to mention this. Sixth chakra is hidden family agreements. It's the work I do with multi-generational healing. And it also has to do with, and by the way, I am going to be doing that the family chart of the Watts family, for example. I have that. There's Cindy's family and there is Ronnie's family. And no, I'm not going to do Shanann's family at all. I won't do a victim's family, just because I feel like if they want to see it, I'll do it for them, but I'm not going to, because it's personal in that sense. So that's where I'm at with that. 6 and 7, hidden family agreements. That is very big. And a lot of times people have finished up their agreements and they're free and they don't even know it. So they keep repeating the same stuff. Boy, when people find that out, it's like, and then the 7th chakra, you cannot live in the 7th chakra. People like to think they can. That's people who are in this Om thing all the time. And unless you are in really practicing, I want to say Eastern chakra, where it is a holy religion, we in the West have a different chakra system. And that's what I talk about in that chakra book. It is on Amazon. And if you just type in my name and it says chakras, it's just this little teeny book. It's not a big book, but it's a workbook. Let's see. I have strong family agreements. I've accepted them and I'm working with them. It's not right. What the great part about family agreements, and let me mention this, is that a hidden agreement is to heal. Believe it or not, we actually come here to heal our parents, even though that sounds insane and it's actually not possible. What happens is it skips a generation, and I'm going to go into that more when I get into the Watts stuff. But for today, here is the thought of the day, and what I'm going to leave you with is this. 4th chakra, oh, by the way, the 7th is universal consciousness. So it means that you're looking for something you want to give to the universe. You may have a bigger calling, you want to get it out there, and you want people to really, really work with that level of energy, right? The issue, though, is you cannot create from the 7th chakra. You must create from the 1st. So the 7th will be an idea, but it is not a formed idea. It's like taking a seed out of the sky and throwing it into the ground, and it becomes 1st chakra. So just FYI, that is how that whole thing comes to pass. And when we look at family agreements, when I look at them and I show you patterns in families, you're going to be like, and it's really amazing stuff. So that is what I do in a nutshell. So I wanted to just say, if you want me to do this again, please put a 1 on here. I see 1, but I'd like to kind of, make some, just do kind of a spiritual thing each week and just see what's going on. I may even take this and move it over to members, make it like a fun membership thing we do weekly, so you can kind of get to know each other in a different way. So that's what I'm thinking. Oh, yes. Nikki, it's always good to see you. And I owe you a message and I owe you a talk. So you're on my radar, just so you know. Nikki actually did, just so you guys know, Nikki did the full training. She went right through, and we had an amazing, she's an amazing reader. So there you go. Bill, good to see you, man. So heaps of 1s. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to do what I think I might do is I think I might make it membership, just because some people, especially with true crime stuff, they're like, I don't want to do that stuff. And I think it's, can't wait to see it. Thank you, Nikki. So one of the things that I'm thinking is like, the 3-tier membership. It's like, I don't know what they charge. I'll have to look at it, but it's not much. But I want to kind of do that level of work. Now, the multi-generational healing stuff, that is kind of a little advanced, but I can kind of tell you a little bit about it. But unfortunately, you really can't do it on your own, just because it's so easily misinterpreted. I think that's the best way to put it. So thank you very much. I want to make sure that we are walking out with all the energy we need. So I want to bring down that white light again, everybody. Just before you go, just take some white light, breathe it into yourself. Imagine that God is the heavens are just opening up for you. God's energy is just coming right down. It's white light surrounding you. You are in a place of ready to take out to the world the highest calling of who you are, just who you are in every minute. And I want to say that when we take this white light out, I want to make sure that you're touching every single person on the call and those who will listen, those who will see it later. I'm going to spread this out to people. And I want to make sure that you just say, listen, I want to have, let's do love this week. We'll do money later. But I'm going to say, bring down that white light and just spread that energy out of just that acceptance, that love, that energy of just God's love, just touching as many people as you can. And as you bless others, so I ask too that I am blessed. And so it is. So I will see you all next week. I'm going to try to keep it at this time. We'll see what happens. And if this isn't a good time, it will change. And love to see you guys. I will be talking, I think Wednesday or Thursday, I will be doing the intro to the Watts family tree stuff. So I'll put it all up. Bill, great to see you guys. And I hope to see you real soon. Love you guys, and I mean it. All right. Have a great week. Monday. Yeah.